सर्वधर्म स्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः.
Yes, This song is called Be the Change, inspired by the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who lived for peace and not violence, and told us to be the change we wish to see in the world.
Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon. This is being recorded on July 8th, 2013, and in the United States, and July 9th, 2013, where Ramon is there in Japan. And I'll tell you what, Ramon, I have had one of the most amazingly, joyously, heart-expanding, mind-expanding growth weeks in my life. This last week I've taken Tom to a whole new level of perception in the way that I'm interfacing with the rest of this planet. And that's not an accurate description either. It's kind of hard to put into words, but I've been talking here this last couple of months about how I've been sensing the energy growing, and it's like it's been the energy is layering on top of each other, and another layer comes in and lays on top of it. And I was getting a sense for a while there that it was like a bubble or a balloon that was blowing up, and that the surface tension was getting really tight, and I felt like it was about to burst, and something big was going to happen, and there was it wasn't really I think I understand what was happening for me personally. It wasn't really a burst. It was kind of, now I'm looking at it more as a raising of the vibration, raising of that level of energy within myself and in my bubble, my world, and those around me and those that I interact with. And there have been some absolutely tremendous breakthroughs in some people that are near and dear to me here this week, myself included. And so in light of that, I kind of wanted to start this show out with something I wrote back in 1989, and I've said this on the show quite a while back. I probably put it out there a couple of times, but I wanted to recount this one more time. Inside each one there lies a force, a creative genius which guides our course. With study, desire, and persistent heart, he takes his place and plays a part. Whether high or low, who can know? His place in life he will show. Through miles of travel on different roads, little by little the picture unfolds. The key was hidden within a dream, to learn an ancient language it seems, to shape and mold the waking dream. Now, the reason I wanted to recount that was because I'm finally able to understand what I wrote those 25 years ago, or whenever the heck it was that I wrote that down. And it's that learning that language of God. And what I've been really starting to experience, and this is really hard to relay to people who haven't had the experience themselves, but it's a form of direct interaction with life around you, between your own thought processes, your own wishes, your own desires, and how the world around you reacts and talks back to you. It's talking back to you. And it may be coming from somebody sitting in a booth next to you in a restaurant, having their own conversation, but the Spirit's directly speaking through them directly to you. Or those synchronicities that happen at just the perfect moment. I was at work this morning, and I've been off work for 10 days. And we shut down where I work for the week of the 4th of July here. They just shut the whole plant down. And Today was the first day back at work, and this morning I walked in there and my energy was high, and my level of consciousness has been higher than I haven't kept it at this high. I've been up at this level before, but I always seem to slip back. But I've been in this state now, and it feels like it's become a permanent part of being. I walked into the shop this morning, and we open up all the doors in the shop during the summertime to cool the place down before it starts getting warm, and then we shut all the doors. But we had the doors open, and about an hour after I got there, a red-tailed hawk flew into the building, and not just right inside the door. He flew into the center of the building. And this is a pretty big building. This thing's bigger than a football field, so it's like 300 feet long and 250 feet wide. And he flew in and flew up and landed in the rafters, and he sat up there over the area that I work in. That I'm the supervisor for. We call it the assembly area, and he sat up there for 2 or 3 minutes, just checking us all out, and then he took off, and he, without flapping, he soared right down my assembly line, and then banked and went out the doors. And I was like, "Oh my God, here's your sign."
What did the guys say? The guys at work?
They were all just most of those were like, "Oh my God, check it out! There's a hawk." And from that third dimensional perspective, none of them really saw any deeper meaning. At least nobody spoke of seeing a deeper meaning to it, but except for me, of course. But I just found that just an absolute blessing, and I was so grateful for that experience that it. I mean, after the last week that I've had, and all the amazing things that have happened in this last week. And then to top it off, I'm back to work, and this happens, and it was just like, okay, yeah, thank you. So it was quite an interesting experience.
Congratulations, that's amazing. So I wanna I'm gonna jump right into some of this news, and I'm gonna make it really quick. The links are on the website, which is www.the100thmonkeyradio.com, in case you are listening to on YouTube. And you can find us on Facebook and Vimeo and those channels. A 12-year-old girl grows her own food and donates 2 tons of vegetables to the homeless. Since she was 9, she grew 1 cabbage, and it was just amazing how big this cabbage grew, and then took it down to the homeless shelter and fed a bunch of people. And she was like, well, if I can feed this many people with 1 cabbage, what if I grew a garden? So she started growing a non-for-profit garden. And the amazing thing, there's so many young kids now doing these things. I think in the last maybe 5 to 10 years, I've been hearing more and more stories of these kids who just, instead of saying, "Mom, Pop," or "Teacher, can you do something?" it's more like they take it right into their own hands and going as far as inventing things like that kid who invented he looked at the trees and put the solar panels in that way.
Oh, right, the guy that did the Fibonacci sequence with the solar panels, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not even sure if he knew what he was doing in the beginning.
No, I think he did. I think it was his dad that had actually exposed him to the Fibonacci sequence. But but yeah, he took it upon himself and was like, "Wow, I wonder if the solar panel would be better that way."
Yeah, and yesterday I went up. Last night for me, I went and looked up the things, and I found 2 different news sources. I found some other ones, but I just wanted to reconfirm. So finally, independent testing of the Rossi ECAT Cold Fusion, and another news one that I found said Cold Fusion reactor independently verified has 10,000 times the energy density of gas, which you were mentioning before, of gasoline. So
they're saying 10,000 times?
Yeah, that's what this one news article. And the other one I was amazed was Forbes. The other article, which to me helps verify more because you still find people trying to debunk you.
Right.
I mean, really, people are really trying really hard to debunk it. But anyway, the last one, and then we'll start our show. We don't want our guests to fall asleep. A man claims to have not eaten or drank any liquids for 70 years. The link is up there too. I guess people have been doing this throughout the ages, and you always hear stories, but it kind of reminds me of the couple. I forget.
Akahi and Camellia and Akahi, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's been doing this, longer than he's been alive. And, he looks great for his age. He has to be like between 75 and 80 or older. He looks amazing for his age. So there's a picture of him there once you press the link and stuff, I can find him. So Tom, I was listening to some of the interview, and this is probably one of our few guests that I could be wrong, but it didn't seem like the proverbial 2x4 for her to wake up. It was a little more direct than that. But
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely will be an interesting story to hear. We have Rasha with us tonight. She's the author of Oneness and The Calling, and she has a new book just coming out, A Journey to Oneness. Rasha awakened to her inner callings as a conduit of divine guidance in 1987. She began working with Oneness, the divinity we all share, in 1998, documenting the revelations that serve as a foundation for the Oneness series and addressing the profound spiritual awakening that is the hallmark of these times. In the process, she was taken step by step through the sacred journey to oneness and through the life-altering changes that are shaking the foundations of today's world. Her website is www.onenesswebsite.com, and I would like to give you a warm 100th Monkey welcoming to our show, Rasha. Rasha, did we lose Rasha?
I think she did fall asleep.
Hello?
Oh, there she is. Rasha, you are there.
I'm here. Your voice went dead right when you mentioned my website address.
Ah.
It suddenly went silent, and I didn't know what had happened.
Oh, we gotta love Skype, huh? Oh, it's an absolutely amazing technology that allows all of us to get together without having to pay an arm and a leg in the first place. And it's a fantastic format with the world becoming so small now, figuratively, as far as communication is concerned anyways. It is just awesome. Absolutely awesome. I love the opportunity to be able to reach out and talk to people like you.
Well, hopefully that everyone can hear us. We're in 3 different parts of the world, I think.
Yeah. Where are you located at, anyways?
Right now, I'm in Santa Fe, but most of the time I'm in India.
Ah.
Okay.
I think one of us is in Japan. I'm not sure where you are.
I'm up in Washington State, so a couple thousand miles north of you. So.
Wow.
Wow, this I haven't had the opportunity right out of the gate. I'll let you know I haven't had the opportunity to read your book, but from what I have looked at so far, wow. I mean, I was just exposed to it just here a couple of weeks ago, and this is one of those jewels that have been out there for a while now. Well, let's go back and
Oneness has been out. Originally came out in 2003 and then came out again in 2006 in a different edition. But it's been passed from friend to friend, word of mouth, all over the world.
That's the best. That's the
I
absolute
kind of just got
best
out of the way.
Yeah.
And went back to India and let the book exercise its own destiny, which is it just never ceases to amaze me what is happening with this book. The book Oneness. Over 100,000 copies have been printed of this book with no promotion at all.
Wow.
I've just begun to talk about it.
That's it's an amazing testament to the energy and the connection that you have with it and the truth that's within it. I mean, if the truth wasn't there, or at least a guiding path towards it, it wouldn't. I don't think it would have gotten those legs.
It wouldn't be doing what it's doing. It's ringing true to people all over the world. The emails I get, people are saying they'll open this book randomly to a page and read exactly what they're supposed to hear, which I cannot explain how this works, but that it works is unquestionable.
That's kind of like the way I was talking about in the intro about talking to God myself and the way the world actually responds to us. And I mean, it sounds like this is actually talked about quite a bit in your book too. Before we get jumping into oneness and the journey to oneness, I'd like to get a little background for our listeners. How did all this start for you?
Oh my gosh, very unexpectedly. I was very much a business person. At the time that I started hearing divine information, I was in Nashville, Tennessee. I was working as a country music lyricist, if you can believe that. And out of the blue, just out of the blue, I heard a voice. And it wasn't a voice, it was more like a thought form. And it whispered, "I love you," on a beautiful, crystal clear summer day. I was looking at a lake and admiring the sailboats and the sparkles on the water and thinking, my God, this is gorgeous. And I now understand that what happened to me was a spontaneous heart chakra opening, because what I heard was not my thought. It whispered, "I love you." And I startled, because that wasn't my thought. And so I started kind of a conversation in my mind with this thought form, and I responded, "Are you my higher self?" And I got a reply. It said, "No, we are not you." "Well, did I know you in a previous life?" I said. And then I got specifics of when there was an incarnation, ancient incarnation, thousands of years before, that I had shared with this teacher, and the teacher turned out to be Rama, the Hindu god, who I had never heard of. And I went on to transcribe quite a nice body of information before I kind of freaked out and decided this was just too strange. In those days, people weren't doing this, or if they were, they weren't talking about it.
Right.
So I had no idea about anything. I was a blank slate, which I have come to understand was exactly the qualification they needed. Somebody who was untainted by any other information. I considered myself a spiritual person, but I hadn't really read a lot of books, and I wasn't dabbling in anything. I was interested. I was so naive and innocent. So my teachers emerged from within me over the course of decades. And what is in these books is straight from source, because I have no basis for writing any of this. I didn't even understand half of it when we started.
Right.
And they taught me as I went along. It was quite remarkable.
When you had that initial awakening, you said you now understand it as a heart chakra awakening or opening.
An opening.
Did you experience a physical sensation along with this?
Yes, absolute bliss. Out of the blue. I was in joy. I was in a state of joy. I didn't understand it at the time. I do now. It was a knock on the door. It was an introduction, and it caught my attention. And then many years later, when I was very carefully trained by a series of teachers, then the introduction was made to oneness. And that happened in 1997, 98, right around the turn of the new year. I was told I would be working with a source called Oneness, and I wanted no part of it. I thought, okay, this is too much. And really, but
I quit.
Slowly I made my peace with it and came to understand that I probably had volunteered for this in a previous life. They say I did, although I don't remember having done this. It was almost too easy for me to do it. It was like breathing, and I realized that other people weren't doing this, and perhaps it was true that this was my life mission. But it took me a long time to understand what that meant and to embrace the total shift in life direction that came about as a result of it. Because this was not at all what I thought I was going to be doing with my life. Not in any way. It's nothing I sought. I was a shy and reluctant messenger who was saying, wait a minute, this is too weird. I don't think I want to do this. But, and the new book, A Journey to Oneness, talks a lot about that reticence and how patiently they worked with me until I was ready to say yes. There's a profound message here, and it's got to come out. And it's my privilege, really, to birth this into this world so that people can understand what's happening within them and can know that they're not alone, that there are so many people going through these changes that are described in these books.
Right.
What it's all about and how to get a handle on it, how to get through it with dignity and with a sense of humor. That's a lot of what these books cover. And yet in great detail of what's going on. I think much more than is available in any other books that I've heard of, particularly the latest book. Goes into depth on subjects that I have never heard broached before. So it's been an interesting ride for me from the barest beginnings. And it's been a roller coaster too. And that's described in detail in these books too, that it's not just a joyride. It's rough sometimes. And a lot of people who are on a spiritual path now, they expect that they're going to be on a bliss ride. It's not all like that.
Oh, no.
It's got a lot of challenges, and you fall on your face and you pick yourself up and dust yourself off and figure out what just happened, and then you go for a lovely cruise again and suddenly splat. That's the nature of this journey. Like
definitely.
2 steps forward, 1 step back. So the A Journey to Oneness tells my story, what happened to me. And I had the Murphy's Law version of this. I fell in every possible pothole. I was completely a mess. And I didn't whitewash it in any way. I really just told it like it was and was able to provide the personal guidance that I was given from Oneness, which is the source within each of us, all along the way, that helped me to make sense of what was happening inside me as I would take these headlong spills into the muck and try to understand, okay, what was the significance of that, please?
Right.
I would get a lengthy explanation. So all of that was documented. 3,000 pages of it was documented with no idea that it would ever be published. These were my private writings. In addition to the book Oneness, which was 400 pages long, and I thought that was going to be the extent of it, there were all these personal writings that I was doing as I was living my own life. So after much time, I was told, yes, and by the way, that's going to be a book. And I said to Oneness, forget it. No way, that's personal. No, they said, you don't understand. This is needed. So I realized I was the guinea pig. I was the forerunner who went through it ahead of the pack so I could write about it. But it took years for me to agree to come out with this book, which is why it took so long for me to publish it. But it's been out about a month now. And clearly people are resonating to it, so which is very reassuring for me.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah,
Ramon?
I was going to say, how did your family react to this in the beginning?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. How
did your family react to this in the beginning?
My family, well, that would be my children. They've always had a sense of humor about Mom. Mom is a little different, and none of them are particularly on a spiritual path at this point, but they're still young, so there's hope. There's hope. I can't say that I got a lot of support from family, but this is typical. Rarely is there more than one person who is on a serious spiritual quest in a generation in a family. And often it skips a generation. So you may have an individual and their grandparent who would be on that wavelength together.
Wow.
Rarely would you find that the children in a family would resonate necessarily to what you were doing if you were on a radical spiritual quest. And this seems to be true across the board from what I've heard.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, before I go into some other things, how do you describe oneness?
Well, oneness is the presence within each of us. So that is the microcosm. Oneness is the divine source of all life, and thus it is in everything. There is nothing that oneness is not. It's in every blade of grass. But taken to the other extreme, the collective of all of that is oneness. And some people refer to this as God. This is the divinity that is the source of life itself. So the spiritual journey is the opportunity to source that and not just believe it, but to know it from your own experience of it. That's why you would go on a spiritual journey. Not just to duplicate what you may have read in a bunch of books and heard at workshops and satsangs and whatnot. The opportunity is there if you delve into a spiritual practice, if you decide you really want to go on this adventure and see for yourself what is possible. The opportunity is to actually taste it for yourself, to go on the ride, and to know that aspect of humanness, which is divine, and to know it to be what you are, who you are. So that's the journey I was taken on, and it's quite a ride.
Oh boy, you're telling me.
Quite amazing. I never would have dreamed in my wildest dreams what it is possible to experience in human form. But I would say this is an adventure well worth embarking on.
Oh,
and there's a science to it, how to do it well, and how not to get very discouraged. So Oneness outlines all of this. The book Oneness is really a handbook for going on a spiritual quest. What you can expect, what's going to happen. And from the standpoint of energy, a lot of it, the approach in the Oneness books is the understanding that everything is based on energy. And to understand how important it is to maximize that, to make it a priority in your life, and all of the ways to do that, how to make the best of it. And a lot of the things you may want to choose to avoid along the way that will help you to augment your energy and to keep it as high as possible. So that's the orientation in the book Oneness. And the Journey to Oneness book is how I personally applied those understandings in my own life. So it's filled with vignettes and experiences that I had, and then woven together like a tapestry with the wisdom of oneness that I was given all along the way, that helped me to keep smiling in the face of some real nonsense and craziness that went on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. It definitely, especially in the beginning stages, I personally questioned my own sanity many times.
I think we all do.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all do. Like, what am I doing?
So, what does it take if somebody's out there and they're listening right now and they go, I think it's just about time for me to really look into this stuff and really start, seeing if there's any truth to this, if there's any validity that can be found. So I need some tangible proof. I'm not going to spend years and years looking for something that's not really there. And that's that attitude comes from our societal upbringing and training and programming, et cetera, et cetera. But what would you say would be the first type of I guess maybe experience that a person would have if once they make the decision to actually start looking? I mean, what was the first type of experience that you had, short of the...
Okay, well, I'm not typical. You can't go by me. I mean, I was talking to God and getting answers. So
yeah.
I don't want to tell people to expect that that's going to happen, because it may not. It probably won't. But you will feel like you've shifted into another octave of yourself. As you go into a real journey, you will want to start a spiritual practice. And what that means is you can orchestrate a program of some kind that feels good to you. You don't have to do a paint-by-numbers journey necessarily. You don't have to sign up for anybody's course or do it by the book the way certain people say it has to be done. Oneness says that everyone's spiritual journey is as unique as your fingerprint. So what you want to do is explore what's out there and explore what feels good to you. In my own case, I have studied mantra for 20 years. I studied with a master. I love that. I resonated to that. So that becomes part of my spiritual practice. If a person wants to create a beautiful altar with incense and candles, and recite psalms or prayers or whatever, or sing holy songs or meditate. Meditation is a large part of a spiritual practice and can really, really make a difference. You can craft a program of practices that feel good, that feel right to you, and you set aside a certain amount of time per day. It doesn't have to be 5 hours like I did. You can start with 15 minutes or a half hour and see what happens. Close your eyes. Put a do not disturb on the door and switch off the cell phone. And have that time just for you. A lot of people enjoy just talking out loud to God, or getting on the computer and writing your deepest thoughts, your longings. That's a way to get the flow going. And then you realize you've shifted into another gear of yourself. And the feeling is peace, absolute peace. So that's your clue that you're on track when you're doing a spiritual practice. Ultimately, the sensations of peace will deepen. It will become more and more profound. And the instances of feeling that you're in the flow, that you're connected, will last longer. So I remember you described something in the very beginning of this talk tonight, that you had experienced something, but then it went away. You said that.
Right.
You felt something, but it went away. And I remember as you said that, I was thinking, that's exactly what's supposed to happen. Because when we don't stay in it, don't expect that you're going to be able to sustain it. What you're going to get are isolated tastes of this, what oneness calls the ebb and flow of the tides of enlightenment. You're going to get your feet wet, and then you're going to be in it up to your knees, and then you're going to be in it up to your neck. Ultimately, you're going to dissolve into it, but that takes a long time.
Right.
Don't expect that as you embrace each stage of this, you're going to stay there. It's a wave, and when you're in the wave, it feels very real. But then the wave goes back, and you are left blinking on the shore, thinking to yourself, what just happened? And why am I'm not feeling that right now? Where did it go? I wish I could capture it. You're not meant to capture it. You're meant to taste it. And you're meant to acclimate yourself to that augmented resonance. You are raising your vibrational frequency with every contact. And this is done in increments, slowly, so you're not clobbered. Because you're in a human body. This has to be done gradually so that you become used to it. So it's very normal to feel like, yeah, you were in it and it was intense and it was fabulous, but then it left. This is exactly what happens. So I wanted to address that with people.
Right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's exquisite when it happens. And the more purposeful you are about your pursuit of wanting to taste this, not just intellectualize it, the deeper you're able to go with it. And it's a fascinating aspect of humanness. We're being given an opportunity in these times to go to levels that maybe one in millions would be able to do in other lifetimes. Now we are being supplemented vibrationally with the energies that are flooding this planet, so that people who are choosing to harness that opportunity can ride the ride without having to completely withdraw from life and devote their lives to austerities in a cave in the Himalayas. You don't have to do that in these times, because the energies are compensating. They're making things possible for us to transcend the limitations of mind and go right into the heart, which is where the experiences are taking place.
Right.
So those are just a couple of clues, and the books go in great depth on how to do this and how to put your pieces together and integrate fragmented consciousness and all of the aspects of becoming whole, becoming one. Because, there's a lot of talk out there about, we should become one with each other. We're all one. But before you can become one with another person, you have to become one within yourself. And that's the work that needs to be done. If you're going to have this ride in earnest, you want to deal with some of the bits of yourself that you may have swept neatly under the rug, thinking nobody would notice, like I did, and like so many people do. Things maybe in the form of emotion that may have been just too much to bear at the time, just too overwhelming to deal with. So we put it aside, thinking, okay, I'll look at that someday, and you never do. In order to really pull it together and have all the cards in your deck, which is necessary for the higher leaps, you have to confront some of the things that were denied in the past.
Right.
Some of the depths of feelings you may not have chosen to taste in the moment. It hasn't gone away. It's still there. It needs to be dealt with. So these are other aspects of a spiritual journey if you're on one in a serious way.
Yeah.
If you're just glossing over it, great, read the books and it's all interesting and you can talk about it. But there's so much more to it than that. The opportunity is huge for where you could take this if you want to.
So I saw that oneness video that you have on your website, and one of the quotes that are in there are, "All are experiencing the wonders of a new world of perception." Now, that I'm curious on, because when people look out at the world, I personally, I'm able to glimpse some changes even in some of the hardest core third dimensional materialistic consciousnesses out there. But for most people, they just don't see it. How do you see that in the quote unquote masses, as far as them experiencing any sort of a new world of perception, instead of them perceiving just the doldrums of the 9 to 5 grind and being better than the Jones and Smiths?
Well, even if you're at the level of the 9 to 5 grind, there's a best case scenario and a worst case scenario to everybody's day. If you are playing your cards right and you're optimizing your energy, you are getting a higher quality ride out of this. So that your world of perception has shifted. You may not know it. Everything is not carved in stone. There are a million, zillion variations on how it might go in a given day in a person's life. So the question becomes, what is it that you would like to experience? It's all up for grabs. And when you realize that, it gets most interesting of what you're capable of doing with this. You can optimize the quality of your life. And people are doing this everywhere without even knowing they're doing it.
Right.
Because the energies around us are augmenting it. You are at a higher vibrational frequency. So even though there are worst case scenarios waiting in the wings of possibility in the ethers, you may not be calling them forth vibrationally. And so you are not perceiving them as having happened. It doesn't mean that they're not there. Just like all the radio stations are playing all the shows at the same time. You can't tune them all in. You can tune in one that is resonating at the frequency that you've got tuned in on the dial, and that's what you perceive. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Absolutely. Absolutely. Ramon, you have something?
I think
I was wondering when you're going through. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, it totally went dead for a minute there.
Oh.
Should we reconnect some?
Yeah, go ahead, Ramon, if she can hear you now.
Okay. Now I hear you. I was talking about the radio stations and then it went dead. The analogy. I don't know, that might be significant.
Let's all of us tune our dials into the same station now.
Yes.
All right, go ahead, Ramon.
I was wondering with everything that's going on, like Tom was mentioning, the 9 to 5, and how we get into this grind, and I noticed that, once you starting to get on this path, and you have to come somewhat, it's a constantly balanced act, because you can't just say, okay, I'm going to follow the spiritual act and then drop the whole 9 to 5 world, because you'll be out in the street homeless.
Yeah, most people can't do that.
Yeah, but at the same time, I find that there, at least for myself, that you go through this like a spike in spirituality, and then it flatlines for a long time. Then you hit another spike, and it goes up. Where most people think that it's supposed to be a consistent like hill going up, and I noticed for myself it doesn't work that way. You hit the spike, and you're saying, you get your feet wet, and you're like in awe, and then it just flatlines and stays flat for sometimes a pretty long time.
It can
Once you start getting yeah, once you start getting frustrated, you're like, I give up. Then you hit another spike.
Hmm.
So
there are no shoulds on this journey. You can do it any number of ways. You can take it to a peak, and then take a time out, and not practice for a while. But my God, you start to miss it. You realize how extraordinary these experiences were, and you long to be able to go back and do it like that. So you wean yourself off of the orientation toward seeking your sense of purpose and meaning in life from the world outside. And you start to reorient yourself to a focus within, because there's a whole other world going on, and it's inside. Did I lose you again? Are you here?
Oh, no, we're here.
Okay,
here.
okay, it sounded like it went dead. Oh, the wonders of Skype. Oh my gosh.
Sometimes we mute our mics, and then so it sounds very silent.
So,
I'm
Ramon,
sorry, I can't hear you.
Ramon, did you have a question to throw on the end of that too?
Can you hear me now clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you. If you speak slowly, it will be better for me.
Okay. No, she pretty much answered the question to that part. But the other one is something that you, Tom, talk about a lot. And what I've noticed when people first get on this path, they want to tell the world, and then, the world pushes them away. And Tom calls that the splashback effect. When you start talking to people, especially people who don't care and really not interested.
But I mean, even those close loved ones, you found a treasure. I've done this stuff. I've gone through this path that I'm on, and I found some absolutely amazing things that wow, I just want to share with the world. I mean, this is a gift to everyone. How do you deal with it when you trying to give it to the person that's nearest and dearest in your heart, and they laugh at your face or say, "Get the hell out of here," or whatever?
Yeah, they're not interested. It doesn't ring true for them any more than if you had a hobby that you were passionate about, that you were just going on and on about, and somebody else isn't interested in it. You have to realize that this is not going to ring true to a lot of people. It may ring true to you, and what's difficult are the people you thought you were close to, your dearest friends and your family members, chances are will not be on this wavelength with you. So it becomes a personal journey, an inner quest. And in a way, you have to kind of ask yourself, why is it that you are seeking approval from others anyway about this? This is the most personal journey of your life. Are you seeking truth by consensus? If everybody around you says, yes, that's right, okay, I see, will you feel better about what you're doing? So it actually makes you look deeply at this. Why are you seeking approval from others about what you know, what you have tasted with your own life, with your own experience? Once you've tasted this, there is no question. You know what's going on. And whether or not anybody else nods in approval is irrelevant. You don't care. They're going to think what they're going to think. But it takes a while to come to that, so you can stand strong in your experience and in your belief, regardless of what anybody else is saying. So you find that, with close friends and family, you share the things that you share with them. You enjoy talking on the subjects that you have in common. And if this is a subject you don't have in common, you may choose not to talk about this with them. You find others who are on your wavelengths, who understand exactly what you're talking about, who will smile and rejoice with you when you share some of the things that are going on. And with those people, you can reveal your heart and tell them what's really going on with you. That's what I would advise people to do. Don't be discouraged if it doesn't ring true to Grandpa. It may not.
What I found in my own path is that There have been certain times where I just had just an overwhelming urge and feeling inside me that I had to be able to express this to somebody. I had to talk to somebody and talk to somebody who would listen and who would appreciate what was being said at the least. And every time I felt that need, I just put it out there in my meditations, in my prayer, and ask, bring me somebody. Give me somebody, or show me somebody or bring someone across my path who I can talk to, a teacher or a student or whatever, somebody I can relate this with. And every single time I put it out in that form, someone came across my path that was on that wavelength, who actually initiated the subject line and did I lose you?
No, it went dead again.
I don't know how much of that you caught. I just was saying. Can you hear me now?
Now I hear you.
Okay. I was saying that every time I needed to express something on my spiritual path and felt a desire to share what I'd learned or what I'd experienced, I put it out to Source, to God, in one of the modalities, prayer, meditation, whatever you want to call it. And every time I did that, I had someone come across my path. And most of those times, they were the initiators of the subject line of the conversation, which just gave me a natural opening to express what I felt the desire I needed to express.
Exactly.
It's just the magic. It's the magic of this world.
And in these times, people are very open about this. This is no longer in the closet. A lot of people are on a spiritual exploration, and so it's not as difficult to find people who are on your wavelength.
Right.
You can share some of these experiences with, if you feel the need to share it. A lot of people don't feel the need to share it. If you're finding that you're not feeling close enough to anyone you know to talk about it, I would suggest journaling. Get on the computer and just pour out your heart to God.
Right.
That's a way of talking about it, of really excavating the depths of your own feelings about what's happening without feeling like you have to have somebody else in human form to say it to.
Right.
There may not be that person today.
Right. Yeah,
that really works for a lot of people.
Definitely expressing it in some form or fashion, whether it's written or speech, it can be a tremendous therapeutic. It has tremendous therapeutic value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing to do. And actually, even for your own benefit, because you'll be able to look back later and remark on where you were at that stage of your journey. You think you're going to remember some things, but you won't.
Right.
And had I not done this all along the way, we wouldn't have had a book.
Right.
I thought that I was just sort of writing it down because for me there wasn't anybody to talk to about this stuff. There wasn't anyone particularly, except for certain teachers that I had encountered along the way, but you don't want to burden one individual with the nitty-gritty of your day necessarily.
Right.
And particularly if the people in your inner circle are not resonating to this, what are you going to do with it? Write it down. Write it down. Start a journal. A very valuable exercise.
The one thing I've noticed, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. The one thing I noticed too is that, a lot of people talk about the negative thing of these technologies, but on a positive note, places like Facebook and many forums, tons and tons of forums, and also there's so many shows like this one, that can fill up your whole day, that it's become easier for people because now there's places where they can talk about this even in their own living room. They can Skype different people and sometimes connect deeply with a person that you've never met physically.
I lost you again.
Oh, I was saying that. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Do we have you?
Okay, there you are.
Ah, there we are. Okay, Ramon, go ahead. Last question. We got 5 minutes.
Okay, I was saying that you can find that you can connect with people on the internet and Facebook and forums.
Yes.
So it's become easier and easier.
Yeah, that's an opportunity too.
Yeah.
That's an opportunity too. But I would encourage people to don't think that you need to talk about this so much. I would say close your books, close your eyes, and go for it. Go deep inside yourself. Go into meditation. Go into prayer. Take a walk in the woods. Go for a run. That's something people are doing, and finding that shifts them into another octave of their own self, where you lose the mundane focus of life, and somehow you're just cruising. You're flying. I would encourage people to have the experience rather than talk about it so much.
Definitely agreed. Agreed. Well, we're at the top of the hour, and Rasha, if you would please share with our listeners where they can pick up your books at.
Yes, absolutely. The books are available from most large bookstores, Amazon.com, and from the Oneness website, which is onenesswebsite.com. You can find all sorts of other wonderful goodies there, things you can sign up for that are absolutely free. Email series, several of them, with gorgeous quotations and photographs and just some wonderful things. So that's onenesswebsite.com. And otherwise, these books are readily available through most places that books can be purchased. They're out there.
And we have a link to your website on the show page here. So
Great.
If anybody is interested, and I would actually urge you guys, at least while listening to the second hour, that you click on that and take a look at our website where you're listening. That's some good stuff. So, okay, guys. Well, we'll take a short break here and come back for another hour with Rasha. And I want to actually kind of dig into the whole ascension thing that people are talking about and get your views on what that is, and maybe dabble in some dimensions and that sort of thing too. So we'll see you guys after the break. And if you're not a member yet, I would urge you to click that join button on www.thehundredthmonkeyradio.com and help support Ramon and I in what we're doing with the radio show. We will see you guys in the next hour. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
The love you deny is the pain you carry.
And we'll see you on the other side.
We wish to see in the world. Freedom's calling, I feel the fire that's deep inside us. Everybody wants change, but tell me who will guide us. To the leaders that pass away, put up your lighters. It's a beautiful struggle, but it cannot divide us. We're the ones that we've always been waiting for. See yourself in the mirror and open up the door. Walk through it and feel the love throughout your pores. Be the light, life's purpose is to feel joy. Metaphysical, lyrical, standing up for truth. The only one to make change is walking in your shoes. Be the example, don't complain about the news. Making music and serving the world with the loo. Now you can be the same, or you can be the change. Find strength from inside, break through the chains. No one to blame, nothing to prove. You create your reality, it's up to you. Be the change
that you wanna see in the world, like Gandhi live for peace.
Aspire to be
someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that love,
that light,
like Christ,
life
for the moment in need.
And if you believe
in Jehovah,
Allah,
Buddha,
Krishna,
it's love to me.
My soul yearns for peace in a world that's flooded with war. History's littered with body scar, trying to settle the score to maintain an archaic platform of power and greed. People fight for land out of survival and need. So I'm killing my television and I'm planting a seed to fill my head with knowledge that I'm seeing receive. Due to the media propaganda killing my creed. Oh, what don't kill me make me stronger, feeling straight when I bleed. Fighting for interest and forwards attached to feet. They try to sell you anything in this world, nothing for free. Land, air, fire, and water, they keep up in the ante, while the anti-proletariat told the powers to be. But we keep fighting, surviving and thriving, recycling and rhyming. We constantly inclining, we see through the lying and prying. They tactically keep trying to keep you from asking the why.
Be the change that you wanna see in the world, like Gandhi live for peace.
Aspire to be
someone who fights for the belief.
different possibilities, creating organizations like Aspire to Be, inspiring young minds to see, building life skills, nurturing creativity, fulfilling the youth's basic needs, listening actively, teaching the tools to succeed, positive role models, we plant the seed, the roots drink the water which feed the trees, someone help me, giving back is my responsibility.
Be the change that you wanna see in the world, like Gandhi live for peace.
Aspire to be
someone who fights for the belief.